attractive is not in bow chicka bow bow attractive. And, not in a good kind of attractive.
Your date is so sexy.
I had a sexy data breach. That's Ashley Madison kind of stuff, right?
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax, HIPAA help is on the way.
Welcome to episode 468 of the Help Me with HIPAA podcast. My name is David Sims of HIPAA for MSPs, and joining me is Donna Grindle. And as I come all the way down to where Donna is, usually, she flees up to New York.
I know, you're like down there, not far from where I would normally be. Yeah, you're right. I knew you were coming and bolted.
I know, you took off. I never would have thought you'd have run north, though.
My brother. I'll do things for my brother. Friends. So, anyhow, I am in Ithaca, New York, while David is in Atlanta doing work. So, the good news is we can record from anywhere.
Yeah. We are both in hotel rooms and not the same one this time.
No. So we need to know we don't know what's going to happen here.
Yep, that's true. All right, so today we're going to cover the newest OCR Ransomware Settlement. And this dropped in our laps right after the last recording. So it's like we said, we got to figure out what to record next week. And then, OCR pulled through, as they often do.
Right.
But along the way, there's always different stuff. We've got some security stuff to talk about that's dropped in the past week that everybody needs to know about. And maybe some action items that need to be on your to-do list over the next couple of days because of it. So
yes.
But before we get into that, as always, thanks for those who listen and who share and who leave a review. We definitely appreciate it. So keep up the good work. Mm-hmm. All right, let's dive right in. So let's start with the crap news.
Yeah. I mean, I was chilling, having a holiday, enjoying, and it pops up on my phone, and I'm like, what did that just say?
Yeah. So for those of you who might remember, there was a massive password leak that happened back in, was it 2021, I believe? And they called it the RockU 2021 big password leak database, which is what a lot of the hackers use when they do credential stuffing and brute force attacks and all that. They use these massive databases of passwords because, believe it or not, most people use passwords that are in a database.
This is why we care.
Yeah. Well, turns out they have added substantially to said database and created the RockU 2024, which has now 10 billion passwords.
Yes, billion with a B.
Yeah. So this is the largest compilation of all time so far. And which means you probably need to consider whether or not you need to start changing passwords.
Well, basically, if you have something that, I don't care what the password is, could be generated, could be complex, whatever, without MFA on it, it needs to be changed. Because you don't know where all these breaches came from, and you don't hear about all data breaches. But 10 billion.
So this is where password managers really, really come in to play and are worth their weight, because most password managers that are good will compare your passwords that you have in their database with the passwords from these leaked and breached password databases, and it'll let you know if you've got a password that's part of a breach. And so you would not have to guess, and you would not have to do all the work of changing all your passwords, because you would have your password manager say, hey, you know that password you use?
Spotted this.
Yeah, you probably should do something about that. So that's why another reason why we highly recommend having a password manager.
Yes, yet another reason.
Yep. And of
So-
course, if you don't have MFA turned on, you should definitely turn MFA on everywhere you possibly can. That will help as well. But I think one word of caution, be very, very careful when you see these places that says, enter your password to be checked against the database.
Yes.
Because
it better be a site you know.
It could be legit, or it could be somebody simply asking, what is your password? And you're like, I'll tell you.
I still love the man on the street interviews and people give up their passwords. Oh yeah, he's secure. Really, what is it? My grandmother's name and this date. Oh really, what's your grandmother's name? Maria.
I know, man.
It's like, what? Okay. Anyway. And
Yep.
Speaking of, it's secure.
Yeah.
You can count on us. You can trust us.
Right. So we've talked before about Kaspersky, the antivirus software company that, it's kind of like, I don't know if we should use them or not. They're Russian based. Well, now the U.S. has finally said no more. They have announced a ban on the antivirus software, and they say it's, potentially not secure and safe to use.
Well, we banned it on all government equipment a couple of years ago, or when the invasion started and all this stuff. And now it's like we can't risk it.
Right.
If we're doing risk management, this ain't it. Using that is not risk management. So yeah, it's definitely, we've been saying, look, I appreciate that these guys say that they're secure, but I don't know if you've heard about things, but like people that don't do what Putin says suddenly fall out of windows and stuff like that. So if he's telling anybody with any skill / power / ability to break in, they ain't secure and they know how to cover it up. So
yeah,
I feel bad for them. They have been a very good company. They have done some extensive security lab work, threat hunting and great stuff. But we're doing risk management here. We can't play nice. We can't say, well, we really like you and we wish that we could trust you. And so we just can't afford it.
Yep. It's just not worth the risk. So if you have that in your organization, we highly recommend that you remove it and move on to something else.
And make sure you remove it. Not just stop using it. Make sure you remove it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So which brings us to the OCR Ransomware Settlement.
Yes. This is the, second or third one where it's involving a ransomware attack.
Mm-hmm.
And, we know these things are coming out. They've told us. And we know it's going to be directly related to failure to do a risk analysis because they've told us. And a ransomware attack is a great place to see failure to do a risk analysis. I mean, seriously, your risk analysis should say ransomware attack. And high risk. Now, what are we going to do about it?
Right.
So, anyhow, this is just the latest example. And unfortunately, we know the patients pay the price. The community pays the price. And the organization pays a price for this. And this is not the only price. I mean, by far, they're probably at the end of their find out phase of the scenario, as they say. But it's Heritage Valley Health Systems, which is Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia. And as we've now seen, this one was signed in February. So it's just now being officially announced. But it was signed in February. So they hold on to them. I don't know. I got nothing. Anyway, so we have the obligatory OCR statement in the press release or whatever, when they come out, and that tells us what we're supposed to look at. And I don't think there's anything surprising in here, but you tell me, David.
No, nothing surprising at all. I mean, it's like you said, it's ransomware. Why would you not take that seriously and have that as part of your risk assessment and risk analysis?
Yeah. So you want to read it? You want me to?
Yeah, I got it. So the director of OCR, quote, hacking and ransomware are the most common type of cyber attacks within the healthcare sector. Failure to implement the HIPAA security rule requirements leaves healthcare entities vulnerable and makes them attractive targets to cyber criminals. Safeguarding patient-protected health information protects privacy and ensures continuity of care, which is our top priority. We remind and urge healthcare entities to protect their record systems and patients from cyber attacks. So I'm glad they threw in and patients, because it's not just about protecting data. It's about protecting people.
Yeah. This is about the people. And not enough people realize it's about the people. Doesn't matter what side, it's the people. And attractive is not in bow chicka bow attractive. And, not in a good kind of attractive.
Your data is so sexy.
I had a sexy data breach. That's Ashley Madison kind of stuff, right? So the thing is, this one goes back to October 2017. So we're talking BC time here.
Yeah, that's forever ago.
I know. It was a whole different world. I mean, a long time ago. And they start with, on October 31st, 2017, OCR initiated a compliance review after media reports that they had experienced a data security incident.
Yeah, well, I guess they can notify the media off their list.
Right. It's kind of like, same thing with Change Healthcare.
Yeah.
But, we tell you all the time they read the news.
Yeah.
And that's not how you want them to find out if you were already supposed to tell them.
Yeah, that's like this insurance that I have. I sent you a thing the other week.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, it's like, I went to the website of my insurance company to pay my insurance, and like the website's down, and it's been down for like 3 days. I'm like, they've been hit by a cyber attack. There's no doubt. I
smell something.
Yeah, and it's like a week later, finally this like obscure news station said that they were having a cyber incident.
Yes.
So I'm like, yeah, imagine that. And still the big news stations haven't caught wind of it, which is weird. But
well, it's like at some point there's just, is that just one insurance company with a handful of people? Man, it's less than 1 million. Who cares? Anyway, so they did their investigation, and it revealed multiple potential violations of the security rule. It is failures. There't a list of failures.
Failure to communicate?
Yeah, that's basically what they're saying to him, isn't it? And we know number one, we know what it is.
Yep. They did not conduct an accurate and thorough risk analysis to determine the potential risk and vulnerabilities of the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of its electronic protected health information.
And they specifically said they did not conduct a compliant risk analysis. See, yeah, I was like, I don't know that I recall seeing it worded that way before.
I know. Now I want to know more.
And then we have the second piece. Huh?
Who did the scan? So who did the scan and gave them the report and told them they were good?
Yep. We know. Answer a few questions, print out a few scans, you're good to go. It's not, you're good, you're not. No. That is not what I'm saying. Do not think that is true. Implement a contingency plan to respond to emergencies. Like a ransomware attack that damaged systems that contain EPHI. I mean, you need to have a playbook that says, if we get hit by ransomware, this is what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't have like, oh, we have a general plan for an incident. You should have a general plan and a specific one, because there's no way that you should even consider that that's not going to happen to you.
Yeah.
You know? And then implement policies and procedures to allow only authorized users access to EPHI, which I'm curious on that one, but you know, it's basically they probably had a little loosey-goosey access policy. You know, that kind of encourages this behavior by the bad guys. So they have to, of course, conduct an accurate and thorough risk analysis to determine the potential risk and vulnerabilities to the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of its EPHI. You know what? Mm-hmm. They should start with ransomware attack. That's what they should start with. Implement the risk management plan. Review and develop, maintain, and revise. That's the one can't get people to understand. Well, we bought our policies and procedures and we update them. They also should have put in here implement. Review, develop, maintain, revise, but in between there needs to be implement somewhere. Review, develop, implement, maintain, and revise as necessary. Written policies and procedures. Train their workforce on their HIPAA policies and procedures. Okay. Let's talk about this, David. How do you people know your policies and procedures? And we ask, what's the training? Well, we have them read them.
So usually the answer I get is, well, we do HIPAA training every year. I'm like, on your policies and procedures? They're like, well, no.
Yeah, that's the other piece. Well, no, we don't have to do that. Yep. Really? So how do they know? Tell me. And it's every time you have this conversation, it's like, stop and think. Think for just a second. If I give it to them to read when they get hired and then never again, and then we train on HIPAA, here's the very generic HIPAA training. That's it. We're done. Mm-hmm. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. And it's about actually doing training that works, not just to check the box.
You know, the funny part is when you talk to people that are in other areas of life about communication and people actually hearing what you're saying, people will say, it takes 7 times before somebody hears the message. It takes 9 times. It takes 12 times, whatever. Yeah. That all works until you start talking about training. They're like, oh, we just do it once a year. Okay, well then let's hypothetically say it takes 7 times to hear the message. That means it's going to take 7 years before they even get it.
I don't even want to think about it that way. You want it to be something, you want it to be like advertising, right?
Yeah.
Like those stupid drug commercials with the songs where they're doing the song and dance routines now. I mean, we had a whole big rant and rave session about that, this weekend with the family, and then we taunted one of them that was most bothered by it by randomly calling and singing the jingle.
It's like, I want some Sky Rizzy. For what? I don't know. It looked fun.
Audience is really so. We need that. We need that for your policies and procedures. I don't know how to get that because we don't have that much money.
Yeah, but with AI, we might be able to start writing policy and procedure jingles or something.
Oh, coming up. I need you to give me a jingle about all of this. Here we go. Yeah. Hit the high points. And don't make things up. But I mean, this is the stuff that everyone is supposed to do. And, the fact that this happened back in 2017, I always say, this is why. This is why we tell people, first of all, have it. Have it, do it. And even then, no guarantees. Zero, zip, nada. You're probably still going to be hit. But what we're going to be able to do is mitigate the damage of that occurring. Limit the blast radius of boom.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big thing. And we know they're going to do the compliance review as demonstrated here. And if, the minute that people have one of these things, we pull the people that are responsible for making sure there's documentation and start saying, well, let's pull the stuff now. Let's make sure you got it all together. Start pulling your risk analysis. Start pulling all the documentation about your training, your policies and procedures. Anything that hadn't been updated, let's go ahead and get it done. Now, get it done. Anything you've been putting off, you better do now. Now, at that point is not the time to do the risk analysis or the policies and procedures. That I'm not saying wait until then to do them.
Mm-hmm.
And we just say, start pulling it, because it's coming. And we even had people who were like, well, we hadn't heard from them. It's been almost 6 months. And I was like, oh, now you done sealed it. They're going to call tomorrow. And they do. But they did add in here, OCR recommends healthcare providers, plan, entities and business associates, take the following steps to mitigate or prevent cyber attacks. So, just like we're saying, do our best to prevent it, assume it's going to happen, and make it not so bad. Starts with right at the top. And this, I keep waiting for something to come through where this comes into play. Mm-hmm. Review all vendor and contractor relationships to ensure BAAs are in place as appropriate and address breach and security incident obligations.
Yeah, because just a couple of days ago, there was another breach announced that was part of a third-party business associate.
And we know how many problems there are, and the number of people where the business associates are like, it's not our problem. All we have to do is tell the covered entity or our upstream. We don't have to do anything else. Mm-hmm. Really? And they're like, well, they're going to take care of it. And I'm like, no, they're not. And even you don't want to, the big ones, there's not a lot you can do. I mean, who's going to have control over what United Health Groups end up doing? This is going to be nothing. But in these ones in the, more normal relationships where it's not these giant corporations, you need to have some control and negotiation ability built into the contract where you get to okay what they say. And they have to pay for it if they're responsible. Mm-hmm. Now, you don't put it in the contract that they have to pay for it if there is ever a data breach. That is way too broad. And if you're signing that, I know, me too. I'm like, I'm not signing this. Well, why not? What's wrong with it?
Yeah, I've seen those and I'm like, no. But and the funny thing is, you have those business associates out there that just says, oh, as long as you sign it, then you're able to do business with them. So just sign it.
Yeah, don't worry.
I'm like, dude, do you know what you're signing? Do you know what you're agreeing to? I mean, you might have just agreed to pay for the breach notifications for breaches you didn't even cause.
And who knows what else? And it goes in both ways. I mean, do you know what you just signed and allowed them to do? Mm-hmm. What do you mean you haven't reviewed your business associate agreement since 2013? I mean, you've got 60 days. That is just setting yourself up for a lot of expense and grief. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Moving on, integrate risk analysis, risk management into business processes. Hello, we've talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Conducted regularly and when new technologies in business operations are planned. That is where people don't do it properly.
Yep. Pretty much continuously.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's if you're going to do something big, you sit down and you think about what could go wrong and you have a plan. Again, it could fail. You may not think of everything, but if you don't do it, it's guaranteed to fail and that you won't think of everything because you didn't even think.
Mm-hmm.
I know as a dad how many times you said, "What were you thinking?"
Yeah, I just shake my head nowadays.
Yeah, there you go. And they're adults, which is even worse. And I totally, you look and you're like, really? That was a choice. That was a choice. Okay. But then I remember the choices I made and I get really quiet. Okay, ensure audit controls are in place and examine information system activity. When we know these things.
And I always love this one because when I ask somebody, do you have somebody who's examining the information system activity? They just always stare at me.
Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. Blink, 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 blink. Yeah, it's a key piece. And bless them when they'll say, well, I don't have authority to do that. Somebody better. That's what you got to do. Ensure that it's in place, regular reviews, MFA. Did we say MFA? That's what we need a jingle for. Oh, we're going to have to find one. We're going to have to get a song done. And this one is the failure as well, though, because they say it, but they don't say it. Encrypt EPHI. Well, it's encrypted. It's encrypted in my email.
Mm-hmm.
But you let them into your email. So,
yep.
If you can see it, they can see it. I don't know. That one I struggle with the most. Is everybody does that? I mean, have you seen that improve at all?
Mm-mm.
On that concept?
No, because again, you throw around the same word, but it means different things depending on the implementation of the technology and what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I have a
at
full,
rest.
Yeah, I have fully disk encrypted, so I'm good. Well, no. So that's the problem there when you start talking about encryption, because you can say the same word, but depending on what you're talking about specifically depends on how it's actually protected, even though you're still saying encryption.
Yeah. It's kind of like in the South, whether you're talking about a tire, or a tire. Tire. You know what I'm saying? Is it a bar?
It's a bar.
But I mean, it's the same problem of you should take a moment and understand which one you're talking about in context. But it's just this whole lack of understanding in general what it takes to secure things.
Yeah. I mean, if you've got an MSP or you've got internal IT and you ask the question, are we using encryption? The answer could be yes, and you still have vulnerabilities and risk there. So ask the question like, can you explain to me what encryption we have and what it's protecting? Mm-hmm. And then you're able to make a better decision and determination on whether or not you should have other encryption and protections.
And who manages it?
Yeah.
Who manages it?
Yeah.
I need a decryption key. Huh.
Yeah. Run into that one a time or two.
Yeah. I have devices where I lost them, and I'm like, well, they're lost. Crash and burn.
That's the ones I hate are when you have to say, you gave those to the previous MSP, and they didn't give them to us. So we.
Does that really happen?
Yeah, it's happened. Yeah, there's still those MSPs out there that don't play nice when they're being replaced, which is just bad business.
Well, it's also failure to take care of your clients if you had that intent ever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also why we tell everyone you should have your own copies. You should know how to log in. The one that has now become tricky, though, is admin login.
Yeah, we run into this problem a lot, too.
It's very, very tricky. That's the one that's the most tricky, and it should be in the contract that that's going to be turned over, I think. It's at that point that it has to be in the contract. Anyhow, all right, so incorporate lessons learned from incidents into the overall security management process. Look, if you ain't doing that, I'm sorry. That just means you run into a wall, have a lot of damage, and think you can still run into the wall and it'll be different.
Yep. If you don't learn a lesson, that's called an absolute failure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the second half of failure, you know? It is. It's the, I don't remember whose line it is, those who don't understand history are doomed to repeat it, you know? You don't want to do that for bad things.
Yep. Or some people say you'll keep making the same mistakes until you learn.
And then there's sometimes you're like, okay, you're just not going to learn.
There is that.
Yeah. Provide training specific to organization and job responsibilities and on a regular basis. Okay. And then the last one, reinforce workforce members' critical role in protecting privacy and security. Okay. So you need to question, they're reminding you this is what everybody that's covered into your business should be doing. Those are the things.
Mm-hmm.
So get your ducks in a row, line them all up.
Did we even talk about what the settlement agreement was as far as the amount of money? And
oh no, $950,000 in 3 years.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that. I was like, I don't think we ever even said it. So yeah, just shy of $1 million and 3-year cap, which we don't see those very often. And
which is not good.
No, when we see 3-year, we already know, this is bad.
Yeah, it's not good. Yeah, it's not good. Yes. So 3 years they need to do, and hopefully they will be in less than 3 years already doing these things, and it's just a monitoring program to make sure they're sticking with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yep.
So you just don't want to be the one that everybody else has to learn from. That's all we're trying to do. That's it. That's all we're trying to do, is not make you be the one that is put, because they say it all the time. When we do this, you're being made an example of so others will learn.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the dunce's cap back in the day.
So I guess they decided not to make an example of them because of the risk analysis piece of it yet. Maybe they were grandfathered in.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's clearly about not doing a risk analysis, and it's in there, and I guess $950,000, I mean, that's enough, I guess. I don't know. I mean, that's a big debate. It's a lot of problems, and everybody's like, you're not enforcing this enough. And then when they enforce it, you're being too mean. So it's like,
yeah,
you know, hard place, slam-a-lam-a-ding-dong.
Speaking of, so one of our great listeners said that, that he just recently got on Cigna, a group health plan, and they automatically added ID theft protection.
It's like, we give.
It's like, I mean, if nothing else screams, it's not a matter of if, but when you have a data breach. It's like, look, we know that you're going to end up being swept into a data breach. So let's go ahead and just start with identity theft protection.
Yeah. It's cheaper this way. Just nip it.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I wish we could.
Yeah.
At some point, I'd love to be able to get on here and say, you know what, things are actually getting better.
And every now and then, and I suppose since we started, they are somewhat getting better. I mean, at least the conversation, we don't hear HIPAA schmippa, but it's sad that is progress, that we've stopped hearing that.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. So still a long way to go. And we're not even, I don't think, scratching the surface on business associates that still get it. Because like I said recently, I was talking to a group of CPAs and one guy was like, well, we deal with doctors and stuff, but I don't know if I'm a business associate or not. And I'm like, you should know either one way or the other, but you should know. So,
be very clear.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's two parts to that. One is he should know. The other part is your covered entity should make sure you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's technically both sides' job, but more theirs.
Yeah. But anyway.
It is what it is, right, buddy?
That's what they say. All right, folks, that is our show for today. Thanks for listening. Be sure to join us again next week. And remember, HIPAA's not about compliance. It's about patient care.
Help me with HIPAA. Let's get it right. Protect your patients day and night. Donna and David, the experts on your side. Help me with HIPAA. Let's get it right.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.